You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
So 60 years ago yesterday, some nerdy kid got bit by a spider, and we've had to live with the line, with great power comes great responsibility, ever since. Yet nobody seems to actually understand what that means. Yep, Spider-Man is 60 years old now, and he was in his early teens when he got bit. I mean, Spider-Man's 74 years old. He's getting up there.
Dan, you want to know what happened 41 years ago yesterday?
You're interrupting my cold opening for what?
Well, just other things that happened yesterday.
And what's that?
MTV declared that video killed the radio star.
Yes.
And then 6 years later, MTV Europe said you could get your money for nothing and your kicks for free.
Thank you, Kyle. Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey, everybody. How are you doing? It is Tuesday, and this is the Dan Wickline Show. And today, we're going to do a breakdown of the Black Panther trailer, cover some of the things that we've seen in it, and try to eliminate some of the just horribly wild speculation that's been going on. And that seems to be a big thing right now, is everybody's doing wild speculation. And I've seen some crazy stuff lately. I've seen people talking about how there's going to be like 7 movies in Phase 7 or Phase 6 besides the 3 that they announced, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's absolutely crazy, some of the speculations going on. And a lot of it is driven by desire. A lot of it is driven by what people want to see. So when someone comes out and says, oh, they're going to bring back Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. in this movie, that's mainly because they want Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. to come back. There's no evidence of it. If anything, Marvel hasn't really brought back a lot of people once they've killed them. Within a single movie they have. But they haven't really brought somebody back from after they've killed them. And then moved on. And then went, oh, we're going to bring this person back. So I don't know why there's that speculation. And it's not just Marvel. It's on DC side too. The thing the other day where Jason Momoa figured fans had caught them doing reshoots on Aquaman 2 with Ben Affleck and posted pictures about it. So everybody went, oh my God, Affleck's going to be in Aquaman 2. And of course, a lot of people went, oh, they're restoring the Snyderverse. What? I don't get that connection. What's happening with Ben Affleck is that DC and Warner Brothers have had to move their schedule around. In Aquaman, there were scenes that Michael Keaton showed up as Bruce Wayne or Batman, according to some of the test audiences. Well, the problem is the return of Michael Keaton as Batman takes place in the Flash movie. The Flash movie is now coming out after Aquaman. And those scenes for test audiences who haven't seen The Flash made no sense. Why is the guy from 1989 Batman suddenly showing up in this modern movie? So, Warner Brothers had to correct that, and they convinced Mr. Affleck to return after his honeymoon to film a couple scenes and get rid of the Michael Keaton scenes and put in the Ben Affleck scenes. It makes perfect sense. You're moving movies around. It's kind of like Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home was supposed to come out after Doctor Strange. In Doctor Strange, we're introduced to America Chavez. America Chavez was supposed to be in the Spider-Man movie as well. She was going to be how they do the portals and stuff. When the movies flipped and America Chavez wouldn't have been introduced yet, and they didn't want to squeeze that into the Spider-Man movie, suddenly Ned became magic inclined and could work a sling ring to make up for those scenes, to fix that without having to drastically change the script. It's what you do. It's what one of the things reshoots are done for. So removing Michael Keaton from Aquaman 2 and replacing him with Ben Affleck just makes perfect sense. It doesn't mean that Michael Keaton is now done with the DCU. It doesn't mean that Ben Affleck is now back as Batman everywhere. Sure, he shows up in the trailer for Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and he's supposed to pop up in The Flash. But the word is that Batgirl is going to have Michael Keaton in it. Now, has Warner Brothers come out and decided, the Michael Keaton thing, that was our old, that was the previous regime. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's stick with Ben Affleck. Maybe. No indication of that. No announcements or anything that makes that legit. Would I bet against it? I don't know if I would bet against it, but I also wouldn't put money on it. It's just, right now, just assume that Affleck is coming back to fix the scenes in Aquaman 2. He'll pop up in The Flash as announced, and then we'll probably move forward with Michael Keaton after that. If it's other than that, we'll find out. But nobody knows for sure. There's no confirmed anything out there. And even when something as simple as Jim Lee came out, Jim Lee, who's the creative head of DC Comics, said that there is no plan to restore the Snyderverse or to do anything with Zack Snyder going in the future. And you would think, okay, that's pretty definitive. One of the guys heads up at DC Comics would probably know because they probably coordinate. Then Rob Liefeld comes out and goes, Jim doesn't know anything. He wouldn't know what they were doing. Folks, there is educated speculation, and then there's this wild-ass speculation. Educated speculation is when you look at they're doing they're adapting a certain book, and you go, well, it makes sense if this happens because of the story in the comics. Wild speculation is well, Michael Keaton is going to be, is going to do this, and Ben Affleck is going to, when there's no evidence of it. Oh, Batman, they're going to finally do the Batman Deathstroke movie with Ben Affleck and Joe Manganiello. No, there's no indication of that at all. The next Batman movie we're going to get is probably the second of the Robert Pattinson Batman movies. That's the only one that's been talked about. Jeff says, with great music videos comes irresponsible reality TV. Yep, MTV. Hey, Kenneth, how you doing? Edward says, so bizarre, eeny, meeny, miny, woe, which Batman is going to show. Yeah, I've been on this for a while that DC really needs to get some kind of person in charge and figure out what they're doing. And 3 Batman at the same time makes no sense. So, and of course, we get the news that the Flash is going to end the TV show with the with a 13 episode season, similar to how Arrow ended. And for a long time, I was a big Arrowverse fan. When I was still working at Bleeding Cool, that was my beat. I covered the Arrowverse shows, and I watched all of them religiously. I had them all, and then I would buy them on a disc in case I needed to reference them. And I watched them faithfully up through Crisis on Infinite Earths. When they killed Oliver Queen, I was no longer working for Bleeding Cool. So I was just watching them for myself. And at that point, I was just like, you know what? I just couldn't get back into everything after that because I had a pause. And I think I finished that season of Black Lightning. Never watched any more Batwoman. Never watched any more Supergirl. Didn't watch any more Legends or The Flash. I was just kind of done. So the announcement that Flash is coming to an end and that Superman Lois is kind of off on its own doesn't surprise me at all. I think in a lot of ways they lost the heart of the universe when Arrow ended. And it's just been kind of struggling on. So it didn't surprise me today, that announcement. But I also think it goes with the Discovery Warner Brothers merger and that they're still trying to figure out what it is they're doing. They're still trying to figure out what's the best approach. When they had the Arrowverse was at its peak, and they had 6 shows going, and they were all clicking, and they could bring the characters together, and it was this big cohesive universe. It was awesome. It was probably one of the best things that had been done on TV, comic related wise. And I know not everybody was a fan. Some people thought it was a little too soap opera-ish, but for what the CW was doing, to me, it really clicked. So having it come to an end is interesting. It's a little melancholy because you kind of can stop and think, well, that means everything can come to an end, right? The MCU will probably come to an end at some point. All of it will. But you don't think about that when you're in the middle of it. You think about that, but what will the end be for these shows? And how will Warner Brothers move forward with these characters? Will they make it a cohesive universe? Will they keep it split up with Pattinson over here and Joaquin Phoenix over there as the Joker and a couple movies that tie to the old continuity, and then some new stuff going on over here where you're not sure if it ties in or not. You know, they're clinging on to the old continuity, but they're not willing to completely commit to it. So we'll have to see how this all pans out going forward. Josh says WB has 3 concurrent Batman. There are no safe assumptions when it comes to brazen incompetence. There you go. And Edward says, I kind of washed my hands of the DC universe after, other than the Pattinson Batman and Shazam movies. The rest is chaos, out of control, and I'm pretty much done with it. You know, and I think the Shazam movies, though, still fit within the old continuity. And Black Adam is tied to it. And, you know, the Pattinson Batman is the only thing that's kind of cut and out on its own. So what they're going to do, I don't know. But it's all very strange, and they really do need to kind of get their stuff together. But we'll see what happens. All right. That's I think that's good to cover on that. But we are going to talk about Black Panther starting up after the break. And I want to go through the trailer bit by bit, pull together some stuff. There's some new characters in there. There's some big changes. And, of course, there is the need to address the passing of Chadwick Boseman. So we'll do a good breakdown of the trailer when we come back. Stick around.
Thanks for tuning into The Experience. Help us out and hit subscribe over on YouTube and click the bell when you do. Need some help? Scan the QR code in the bottom corner. Who would win, Batman or Superman? It's the age-old debate, except it's so much more complicated than that. Nerd Killer Warfare every week on The Experience is your chance to debate other nerds in the questions we've all been asking for years, except we take those debates and turn them up to 11. Go to bit.ly/EXP casting or scan the QR code to be part of the show.
You know, I hadn't noticed that Jay had fixed the opening. So very cool on that. Okay. Like I said, we're gonna test out Jay's ability here because I'm gonna pause a lot and cover things as we go. But let's go ahead and open it up with. We're also going to do it without sound because you know, movie music is expensive. Hi, Jay. All right, go ahead and pause here for a sec. Now, this is, of course, Nikia, played by Lupita Nyong'o. And the interesting thing here is that she's looking out over the beach, but we're not really sure where she is because that is pretty much a Mayan pyramid in the background there. So she might be in South America at this point. Now, her gig when we met her is that she was part of the group that would deal with things outside of Wakanda. She was kind of a spy for Wakanda in dealing with, when we first see her, there's a group of people who are exploiting women and using them as slave trade and stuff like that. And that's how, T'Challa ends up helping her, but she's pretty much got it all in her hand anyway. She was also basically the love of T'Challa's life. And we know that by the end of the movie, they kind of get together. There's been a lot of speculation about this particular character, in that she is one of the candidates to be the new Black Panther. There's also speculation that maybe she had a child with T'Challa, whether in or out of wedlock, that would eventually become the next ruler of Wakanda. So that's a storyline people have been talking about. It's been rumored. Again, no confirmation on that. But that's one of the things people think of how they're going to deal with the passing of Chadwick Boseman. And that's something we have to remember going into that, is that the whole script for this had to be tossed out when Chadwick Boseman passed away. And they didn't just recast him. That would have been the easiest thing, just to come out and say, okay, he's passed. We're going to get Regé-Jean Page to be the new T'Challa. And I think a lot of people would have been okay with it, but maybe not happy, because Chadwick was a very unique actor and person, and really, like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and stuff like that, really became that character, and as the essence of the person who they are really matched up to their character. So for a lot of people, this was the first real superhero movie that spoke to them, that connected with them. So just swapping in another actor, I think as a corporation, it would be understandable. But the fact that Marvel has said, no, we're not doing that. And they're going to honor his passing. Now, again, we don't know how they're going to do it. We don't know what will be the way that T'Challa dies in the MCU. And I'm hoping it's not something that drives the story. Like, oh, we've got to get revenge for this. I'm hoping it's something else, maybe something more natural that takes him, and we deal with the grieving first, and then the new challenge comes up. Because I don't want his death to be a plot point. And I could be alone in that, but that's just me. But so Nikia here could be a very important character in the episode thing. And the fact that we're starting with her, it could be Ryan Coogler's like, this was the love of his life. Let's start with her reacting, looking out over the ocean, dealing with the passing of T'Challa. Or it could be a way of him symbolizing how important she's going to be going forward. So, all right, Jay, let's go a bit more. I love the musical choices, even though we're not playing it. It's such a good job. And here we get to see that Ramonda. Okay, pause again. Ramonda is back as the head of the country, and she has this great speech during the trailer where she talks about how she's the head of the most powerful nation in the world, and that her entire family is gone. And has she not given enough? Now, the fact that she says her entire family is gone really brings up some interesting points. We know that T'Chaka is gone, and we know that T'Challa is gone. But Shuri shouldn't be gone. Oh, Josh makes a point. It says, Lupita speaks fluent Spanish. Wouldn't be surprised if she's big in the South American stuff. Yeah, I could see that. Though Tina Huerta, who's playing Namor, actually said that he had to learn a certain amount of the Mayan language, or a derivation of the Mayan language for the movie. So maybe she speaks it too, and maybe she's like the ambassador between them. A lot of possibles there. But speaking of, Ramonda says lost her entire family. Well, one of the problems that happens in the first movie is that Killmonger destroys almost all of the heart-shaped herb, except for one that I think Shuri was able to grab and give to T'Challa to bring him back. And getting the Panther powers involves the heart-shaped herb and making that trip to the ancestral plane. And the trip to the ancestral plane basically means you die. So I've heard a lot of people talk about how Shuri will probably use technology to try to replicate the heart-shaped herb. I don't know. I don't know if technology is the answer for that. Could Namor's people have a version of the heart-shaped herb, since they both seem to be countries fueled by adamantium or vibranium? Maybe. That would be interesting. But it's possible that Shuri... It depends. There's a feeling that this might take place some during the blip, where T'Challa and Shuri both disappeared. But then the funeral scenes here are definitely after the blip because Shuri's there. So, yeah, still, there's a lot to learn. I mean, we're gleaning a lot off of this trailer, but there's still a lot to be revealed. Now, we know this is a funeral because the Wakandans wear white to funerals. That's the color to honor the dead, is white. And you see not only are most people wearing white, but also the Dora Milaje have given up their normal red color and are wearing white as well. And like I said, Shuri is here, so we get that moment. So let's go ahead and roll a little bit more there, Jay. There's Shuri, obviously in mourning. And we look over the Golden City. That's what the main area is called, is the Golden City. Okay, stop. You back up to that scene right there? Yeah, that one right there. Now, this is interesting because I believe this is a tribute room to T'Challa, like the tomb, because another website, New Rockstars, has translated the Wakandan writing up on the pillars there. And it's supposed to say, "Rest in power, King T'Challa, our hero. 'Twas an honor, Wakanda forever." And there's a couple pillars that are off, but we see them in other set photos. So they were able to put that together. And then there's words below in the lower part that say stuff like Golden City, mining tribe, stuff like that. And that's all the different areas of Wakanda. The Golden City, of course, is the capital city. See, Edward said, "I don't know enough about the Panther legacy to even guess what happens. I love Boseman in Civil War and Endgame. He was amazing. But I had to walk out of the Panther movie less than an hour in and see a different movie. The accent they tried to pull off being hard of hearing, I couldn't understand what they were saying or what's going on. I wish they would have turned that down a bit. But that's just me." Edward, you might want to try to watch it on Disney Plus and with the the captions, because it is a very good movie. So, but I can understand if you have a hearing issue, that the accents could be difficult. But I think that they were important for the characters. So, all right, let's go a little more there, Jay. Okay, here again. All right, stop it. It seems like we're going through the different female leads, and at this point, the country is run by females. You know, Ramonda, Shuri, Nikia, Okoye. But we're going through the different ones and seeing them grieve for T'Challa. And it seems like the big thing is looking out over water. You know, even this scene looks like she's looking over the coast. Ramonda was looking out over the coast, as was Nikia. So now maybe he died in something related to the water. Don't know, but they are driving that point home in this trailer. So, all right, Jay. All right, now this was interesting. Stop. A couple things to pick up out of this. When this first aired, a lot of people were assuming that this was the birth of Namor, of T'Challa's child, which it's not. The reason it's confusing is that we see the, I want to say Atlanteans, but I don't know if they're going to be called Atlanteans. But this is obviously the birth of Namor. When we see the baby, he's got winged feet. Also, what we're noticing is that underwater, the Atlanteans have a pinkish skin tone, or, you know, a more normal skin tone, probably a little more Latino. But then when they're out of the water on land, they're blue. So it might be oxygenation in the blood. I am sure there'll be something to explain it. But the few times we see them underwater, they have a more natural skin color where they're blue when on land, except for Namor, who is a mutant. Now, whether they'll call him a mutant or not, or if it's because he's half human and half Atlantean, we shall see. So go ahead and go a little bit more. Let's see if we can see the baby. A little more, because it's going to show us his feet. Right there. So you see the little wings on his feet. So that is definitely Namor. Now, the reason I'm hesitant to say Atlanteans is because word is that Marvel is not calling it Atlantis. They're going to call it Talocan. And Talocan is part of the Mayan and Aztec culture. It's described in several Aztec codexes as their paradise. Now, it's ruled over by the rain deity Tlaloc and his consort, whose name I will not be able to pronounce. It's Chalchuatlicu. Good luck with that one. And it's supposed to be where the people who died of drowning or lightning strikes go, or as if they've died as a consequence of a disease associated with the rain deity. So basically, if you died because of Tlaloc, then you end up in Talocan. And this is one of the places that history has said might be a version of Atlantis, like another culture's interpretation of the Atlantis myth. And we get those all the time. Every culture has certain stories. You know, the story of the origin of man, the story of, you know, the sun and stuff like that. Every culture has it because there were things they needed to explain. And there are a lot of similar stories. So you find stuff like a story of Atlantis, a lost city that seems to have gone underground or underwater. Now, that's not saying that it's not Atlantis. It's more saying that the people of that city, that underground area, call it Talocan. They don't call it Atlantis any more than, if an alien race showed up and kept referring to Earth as Bullsot 7, or Bullsot 3, third planet from the center of the sun that they call Bullsot. So we're Bullsot 7 and we're Bullsotians. Well, we're not going to call ourselves Bullsotians. We're humans. We're Earthlings. So just because other cultures call it Atlantis and they call it Talocan doesn't mean it's not the same place. So it's probably more of an attempt to kind of separate out what they're doing and what DC is doing with Aquaman. And yes, I know, Namor was created first. Beat him by 2 or 3 years. No doubt. But to moviegoers, Aquaman and Namor are pretty much the same. So the more they can do to separate the two, the better. And also, they made this change. They're calling it Talocan instead of Atlantis. Talocan instead of Atlantis. But again, it doesn't mean it's not Atlantis. It just means that they don't call it Atlantis. And they've kind of incorporated and adapted the Mayan culture. So it connects to another group of underrepresented people in movies, but it also gives a unique feel to the characters. It gives them a unique look, a unique vibe, and it's something very different than what's going on with Aquaman. So I think it's brilliant. I do like them doing it, and it makes a lot of sense. They did it with research. They didn't just take a wild swipe and change it. There's a lot of things that connect the two cultures that makes a lot of sense. So, Talocan. All right, let's roll a little more, Jay. Baby feet. All right, pause here. If we can go back just a little. There. That headdress Namor's wearing, it's interesting because this being an undersea city, you would think, okay, they're going to be undersea creatures and stuff. But that headdress is actually a tribute to the jaguar god. I don't remember which one the jaguar god is. I think he's connected to Quetzalcoatl. But so in a way, he's closely tied to the Panther, the Black Panther cult, or the Black Panther avatar. They're similar. They're both feline avatars. And it also goes with the idea that this city wasn't necessarily underwater in the beginning. So how did they go from being an on-land city to an underwater city where their people now can survive underwater but can't survive on land? Was there magic involved? Was it adamantium that did it? And what is this giant disco ball? Okay, what is the giant disco ball may be the best question. Is it, I heard one person said, maybe it's just a big explosion that he's turning away from. And as much as these movies like to do that, I don't think that's the case. This might be a representation of their gods or of how they communicate with the ancestral plane. Lots of possibilities there. But again, impossible to know for sure until we see the movie. But the headdress is definitely the jaguar god or the cheetah god. I mean, it's a cat god. So that brings us a little closer with connections to the Black Panther. So, all right, let's roll it. We're going to get a giant whale that the Aslandians are hanging on to, which is a great way to attack because you don't expect it. Okay, let's pause here. This is where things get a little strange because it looks like we're building up for these two warring cultures. But then we get this, deep sea platform. We don't know what they're looking for. It's probably vibranium. It feels like there's maybe a third party involved here, and we don't know who it is. There are a lot of soldiers on board with guns, but it also looks like there's other soldiers that come on. So there's definitely a human aspect or a non-Wakandan, non-Atlantean or Talokian influence here. There's been a lot of speculation that there's another villain behind all of this, that there's a push for vibranium that is pitting these two countries against each other. I don't want to get into it too much. There's been some interesting names dropped, but again, nothing confirmed. It's all speculation. But there does seem to be at least a third party involved. And you see it here because this looks like it's a research vessel of some kind, except there's armed guards on it. And we see the Dora Milaje get on there. We see fighting. We see what look to be African researchers being forced to do things by soldiers. So there's a lot going on here. All right, go ahead, Jay. Yeah, see the guards are armed. We got soldiers on board. Okay, pause. That's fine right there. Well, the last thing we saw was the throne room flooded and then engulfed in flames with Shuri in the middle of it. Now, is that happening in real time? Because we do see a lot of flooding, or is that part of her trip to the ancestral plane if she goes on one? But this here, Shuri is about to meet Riri Williams. So that is Ironheart. The actress's name is Dominique Thorne, and she's getting her own Disney Plus series. But we'll see her through the trailer working on her own armor set, like Iron Man armor. And at one point, she cuts a heart-shaped piece of steel or vibranium out of a big sheet of metal. And that's kind of where she gets her Ironheart name from. So, but the other thing is to look at Letitia Wright here from behind. She's always been a very slight build woman. She looks like she's actually put on some muscle. Like she's been working out, and maybe she's going to be doing more fighting in this one. A little less dependent on technology and more on actual fighting. So, all right, Jay. Now, pause. Okay. What we got there was a scene of young Namor coming up out of the water and a house on fire. And it makes me think that maybe that was his house as a kid, because there's some things there. It doesn't look like it's a modern house. There's some equipment in the front yard that looks like it's, early 19th century stuff, or 1900s, late 1800s. So how old Namor is, I don't think we know, but it looks like he might be very old. And we get those mirror scenes of him coming up out of the water as a kid and then as an adult. And it looks like he's wearing the same basic outfit. So, but you see here, the Atlanteans are blue, where anytime we see them in the water, they are more of a natural skin color, or they're more like Namor. So, all right, you know what? Let's go ahead and take our next commercial, and then when we come back, we'll pick up the rest of the trailer. So we'll be right back.
This is The Experience.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hey there, hi there, hello there. You're as welcome as can be.
Hi, I'm Nancy McCann. Welcome to Friday Night Live on The Experience.
Welcome, everybody. It's Fat Jack's Comic Crypt. Brendan, Al, Jason, hanging out.
There I am. Welcome back to Kicking It with Henry, folks. I'm your host, Henry Copeland. It's great to be here with you guys.
So we are going to talk about books that are in stores this week.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mishmash.
Hello, and welcome to the Black Comics Universe, presented by Peep Game Comics.
And you gotta love it that the first people in a minute to skim it are creators.
Up, everybody! Welcome to another Wednesday Warriors. My name is Joey Galvez, and this is my pal Ambrosia.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Space Cadet.
Hey!
What's up?
Welcome, everyone, for another episode of I Must Ask You a Question.
Hi, everybody, welcome to Nerd News Now.
Hey, this is Rex. Welcome to Comic Collectibles.
Hey, hello, all you happy people. Welcome to the damn Wickline show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is the crazy show that we do on Thursdays called What's in the Box? What's in the Box?
Comic culture and sales.
All right, let's pick back up where we were going, Jay. All right, so this, of course, is the M'Baku's tribe. So we're going to go up to visit with him again. And we know that Winston Duke's going to have a big role because they actually had to redo his contract to give him more money because his part got bigger. So while there's been a lot of speculation that he might end up being the new Black Panther, from when we see Black Panther in the clip, he's way too big to be that character. But all right, keep going, Jay. Hey, there's M'Baku. Okay, and this, of course, she's directing things to the. All right, slow it. Pause. Okay, of all the things we just saw, Ramonda is addressing the United Nations, but the speech she gives about giving everything is actually done in Wakanda. We see that tribute poster up on the building for T'Challa. So you see the whole nation is, of course, mourning the death of their king. And, of course, we see on the bridge the Atlanteans. It looks like it's going to be a fight. So lots of stuff starting to build up there. Go ahead and play some more. Oh, okay. A couple things just there. The first thing is we see Everett K. Ross, played by Martin Freeman. He's the only clip we get of him in this entire thing, but we know he's going to be a big part of the story. There's been interviews with him, and we know he's going to be in Secret Invasion, so pretty safe bet he's going to make it out of here alive, or he's a Skrull, one of the two. We also get to see Riri pounding out the heart, which would be building her costume, and they're kind of giving us that Iron Man, in a cave with a box of scraps moment with her. This is interesting right here, this scene, because you see the Wakandan fighters are flying in to attack, and all the Atlanteans are starting to head back for the water. Namor's not moving. He doesn't care. He's sticking around. So, all right, keep rolling. There's another character I want to introduce when we get to her. M'Baku attacking Io. Her. Okay, back up just a little. That is Michaela Cole. She's the actress is Michaela Cole, and she is playing a character named Nikia. Now, Nikia is interesting from the comics because she was the combat instructor for the Dora Milaje, but she ended up killing the head of a tribe because he was abusing women. And she was brought forth to trial to Queen Ramonda and was actually sentenced to prison because of it, even though what she was doing was helping people. She is romantically tied to Io, who is, of course, played by Florence Kasumba, who we saw a lot in Falcon and Winter Soldier. And the outfit she's wearing there is very important because when she went to prison, Io got a hold of what's known as the Blue Angel armor. I think that's what it's called, yes. I had it in my Midnight Angel armor, excuse me. And she used it to free Anika from prison, and then the two of them wearing that armor started going around and helping women who were being abused and stuff like that, and kind of becoming this like a pair of vigilantes in Wakanda outside of the normal law. So the fact that she's wearing the Midnight Angel armor means that plot line might come up, and that her ties to Io and stuff like that. So there's been a lot of people thinking that she might be the next Black Panther, but I have a feeling that's going to be a completely separate plot line, which I like a lot. So, all right, let's go a little bit more. And of course, we get the whole thing with the flooding of Wakanda. Just a lot of great scenes. I mean, this right here, that attack of them coming down. All right, back it up to the Panther scene, please, Jay. All right. Now, we can barely see him, but in the background there, that is definitely Namor in his green shorts and gold trim. The Black Panther in the foreground, the fact that this is the only scene, the only clip of Black Panther we get in the entire trailer is fascinating to me. Because it's like, yeah, this is about Wakanda and dealing with grief. And yes, we're going to give you a new Black Panther, but it's not the important thing. Everything else is the important thing. The fact we get a new Black Panther is not as important. Build-wise, it's not M'Baku. Winston Duke is too big a guy for it to be him. Now, I've heard some people say, well, it's black and gold. Maybe they're bringing back Killmonger. And yes, Killmonger wore black and gold, but it has not been Marvel's habit of bringing back characters once they've killed them overall, especially when it's clear dead. You know, yeah, Red Skull pops up on Vormir, but we didn't see him die. We saw him get sucked into space. Loki has kept coming back, but that's kind of Loki's trick. But they haven't done it really with other characters because they're usually characters that they're done with, you know, or that have moved on, like Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. So when they do kill a character, it's usually because we're moving on. And let's see, Edward says, that doesn't look like a woman's butt or a waist build. You could be right. It's hard to judge from that scene. Normally, it looked like a woman to me before, and the hand. But yeah, that could be not a huge guy. Like I said, Winston Duke is big, so I doubt that that's him. But I don't know. It's really hard to tell from that thing. But the things we can see, the gold trim instead of the silver, which was, again, Killmonger's choice. And also up on the arm, you see what looks to be like the head of a panther with its mouth open towards the gloves. Right there, yeah. And that's reminiscent to me of Shiri's 2 blasters she had in the first movie. So maybe this costume has blasters that come down over her hands or over their hands and can fire. So that's the speculation on that. But all right, let's roll out the rest of the trailer because we're running out of time. Oh, it's just the title. Okay. So that's our breakdown of it. And I think some of the things that you can go ahead and thanks. One of the things that's going to be addressed is how does the new Black Panther get their powers? Will they get the heart-shaped herb from Talokan, or will they get it through recreation? Through Shuri could recreate it. Who's going to be the new Black Panther? Who's going to be the new leader of Wakanda? Did Nikia have a child with T'Challa? So will his son or daughter become the next Black Panther? And where does Marvel want to go with this property? Because, the thing is that there's been speculation on some people who, Letitia Wright had some issues while filming having to do with her stance on vaccinations and stuff. Will Marvel want to distance themselves from her, or just keep moving forward? That's all stuff we're going to have to find out. Josh says, don't forget that Marvel has CG'd big parts of trailers in the past to avoid spoilers. It wouldn't be surprised if that shot of the new Panther is not final. That's a very good point. Yeah, that might not be the character at all. They might have put someone else, some very neutral looking person in the suit to make everybody think, well, that could be a guy, it could be a girl. Edward, I'm thinking Michael Jordan. So you think that's Michael B. Jordan's butt. Okay. All right. So, all right, that's the breakdown. I think it's going to be a fantastic movie. I think it's a fantastic trailer. The music choices were remarkable, and they blended together the Bob Marley song. And I know it's not Bob Marley doing it, but it's a Bob Marley song and the Kendrick Lamar song together so well. And they're both protest songs, so I think that's just fantastic. All right. I will be here tomorrow to talk of Only Murders in the Building, the newest episode, and whatever else comes up. I will not be here Thursday. I've got some stuff going on. So that's the rest of the week. Coming up after this, Minute to Skim It will be with Miss Jen and her crew as they go through new books coming out this week. And then I will be back here with Jay and Kyle. It's always hit or miss if Kyle's going to show. But we'll be talking about new books, including the new James Bond book from Dynamite, the new Frankenstein New World Order from Mike Mignola, Godzilla Rivals, and a few other books too. So we'll be back at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for in-stores this week. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great evening. Stick around for all the great stuff here on The Experience. Good night.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere The Experience is all the time.